Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dice Cast. I am Russell, and with me I have.
Fishman.
Where last we left off, Aquans and Jonas were continuing their journey towards across the grassy plains and towards the northeast, northwest, towards the Elven lands,
Yep.
which is their next intended destination. In their journey of the last day, they came across a valley that was filled with fog and illusions and various monsters, all of which have been gathered together by an old enemy of theirs, which turned out to be the Trickster. This was not the only blast from their past, though, they had to worry about, because the cursed glaive, which they have dubbed the Bad Penny, showed up again and seemed to be inclined towards shifting ownership between these various monsters to trying to kill so one of them could kill our heroes. Fortunately, they were able to deal with some of them and avoid some of the others, and through threats, convince the trickster to free them from the illusory prison that he had trapped them all in. And they were on their way after that point.
Yeah.
So we're going to be picking up basically that evening after we've gone as far as we can from the valley where we left the Cyclops and the still very much alive Aboleth.
Yeah. Well, it'll be several months before he catches up to us.
Yeah. So we had gone as far as we could by magical flight, and then we walked the rest of the way.
Yep.
All right. So we're rather tired from a rather trying uh, afternoon.
Yep.
So once the sun is going down, we decide it's probably good to start setting up camp.
Yep.
So I suppose we need a survival check to see if you can find us a nice place to set up camp.
That'd be 21.
21. All right. We find a very nice spot. We go over it slightly more thoroughly than we normally do because of all the illusions we've had to deal with recently. But we find a very nice secluded spot that's out of the way from off from the main road.
There is no road.
Well, there was one a few days ago. We may have passed it, but anyway, we're off the beaten track basically.
Yeah.
And we're setting up our campsite and
Mhm.
settling down for our evening meal. We have a fire going. Is there anything you want to do before we actually get to our long rest?
Well, I recently picked up some herbs to make uh, the powder for elixir of health.
Yes.
I would like to process some of that.
All right.
I
So this would be a
did not,
medicine check.
yep, did not burn any luck,
No.
but I do not have
Enhance ability prepared.
no.
It's not
So
something you always have with you. Well, you can use your luck, I suppose.
yeah.
But you do.
So not a heist check anyway. So
Nope.
well, a two certainly won't do it.
Yep, that's not going to be enough.
I get +5, correct?
Yes.
And it's a 15 DC.
Yes.
Then I made it just right on the nose.
So you rolled a 15.
I rolled a 10.
Yep, plus 5. All right.
Yep.
So you get out your alchemy supplies and your herbalism kit, and you process the herbs into the fine medicinal powder, which you need.
Yep.
All right. How many of those do you have on you currently?
The powder itself,
No. How many of these herbs?
I had 4 bunches. Now I'm down to 3. And I'm pretty sure I still have some of the actual salve.
Yes, I think you used up the last of the actual medicinal powder
Yeah.
to get learn the formula, though.
Yeah. The powder's all gone.
Well, now you have a dose of it.
I have a dose of it, and I have 2 doses of the salve. But I
Yep.
think I'll probably just spend time processing the rest of it, and then we'll
Okay.
start making the salve.
So you can write down somewhere on your character sheet you have this medicinal powder. Bear in mind, it can be used to treat poison and disease on its own.
Yep, I wrote it down already.
Yep.
I would probably rather save it for, you know.
I know. It's just an option for you to have.
Yeah. Alrighty, that's all I want to do.
All right then. Then I guess we'll be settling down for our watches and our long rest. So you set up the hut.
Yep.
I set up the alarms. We summon our familiars, and I believe it's your turn to take first watch.
Cool. 13.
13. Right. With that roll, with you and your owl, you see some very faint, like, movement at the very edge of whatever light is available to you at this point. Just you think it's might be some sort of local wildlife going by in the night,
Hmm.
but that's about it.
Cool. And then once my shift is done, I'll wake you up
Yeah.
and I'll get my rest.
All right. Yeah, all right. That's much better.
Hmm.
All right. So you're about we're about uh, halfway into my watch when well, a blood-curdling scream breaks the silence of the night, and it carries quite a ways.
Okay.
It does rouse you from your sleep because,
Not getting a long rest.
huh?
Not getting a long rest.
Well, we
Wake up.
we both you wake up. We both look at each other. As quick and as sudden as it does pass.
Do I get a direction on? Well, I was asleep, but does my owl get a direction on that?
Sure. Roll for your owl.
16.
Uh, in the direction we were heading.
Well, it is not something that will dispel the hut if my owl heads out.
No.
So I'm going to have her fly in the direction of the scream, and I will attempt to perceive through her senses.
Yeah. Right. So, rousing yourself from slumber and focusing your mind, you send your familiar out
Yep.
in the direction, and you focus through her senses. All right. Let's make a perception check through her senses then.
Oh, there we go. Waking up here now. 22.
All right. All right. So your owl's flying around along for we'll say about 5 minutes,
Okay.
and your owl comes to what basically is a village in the distance at the edge of a forest.
Hmm.
And basically, the scream seems to come from that direction, and there's all sorts of lights going up, like candles and torches and various things, and people are being roused in the middle of the night by, well, this scream.
So we're not the only ones woken up.
No.
Okay. Unfortunately, she's too far away for me to give instructions to.
Yes, so what were your instructions?
Fly out and see if she can locate where the scream came from.
All right. Well, through your mental link, your owl has come to the conclusion that this is the direct area that the scream came from.
Okay. And do I see anything that would indicate someone who's in great distress, someone being attacked, some body being dragged off?
You rolled a
Um, 22.
22. Uh, well, Jarl does notice that a lot of the commotion seems to be happening at the edge where the edge of the village and the forest meet.
Yep.
And people seem to be heading in that direction,
Yep.
but that's about it from this distance.
Hmm. Well, she's still flying.
Yep.
See if she gets anything more as she gets closer.
Okay. Well, as your owl gets closer, I'll let you make another perception check.
A little bit worse. 17.
All right. Well, there appears to be a group of humans gathering around the edge of the forest,
Hmm.
and there are a few more screams and gasps, and there are people who are also now running away from the edge of the forest.
Okay. Why?
Well, your owl believes that there is a dead body down there.
Okay.
Also, your owl seems to notice, well, basically, for all intents and purposes, a flock of crows that are perched in the trees near the end of near the forest, and well, seem to be, as far as your owl is concerned, watching the situation. Like they're observing it.
Okay.
And
Crow.
also, there's fresh carrion there, apparently, or freshly killed corpse, and they're not, well, doing what carrion birds normally do. Again, there
Yeah.
are lots of people there too.
Yeah, well, they're obviously going to wait.
Yeah.
Hmm. Do I hear anything?
Lots of panic, indistinct chatter, nothing really clear.
And this is how far from us?
It took your owl about 5 minutes to fly to the village and a bit more. Now there, so
It is not close.
no, probably a couple of hours walk.
Yeah.
Not the sort of thing we necessarily want to do in the middle of the night.
No. Yeah.
Your owl, basically, because she's fulfilled your instructions, at least interpretations of your instructions now, is coming back.
I got to unsummon her.
Yep.
And then I'm going to resummon her here. And my instructions this time for her are to fly to that village. Sorry, fly to where that corpse was and circle above it.
Okay.
Circle above it, like not too high up, but treetop level.
All right. So 5 minutes later, I assume you're doing this so you can get a closer look at things.
Yeah, I want to see if I can figure out what killed this individual.
All right. Well, so 5 minutes later, your owl's back over the village, and we can move ahead to the next image if you want. All right. So this area up here, where
At
those
the
two
top?
stones are and where the trees are,
Yeah.
that's where the edge of the forest is. And I'm not going to make you roll for this actually, because when your owl is in the vicinity, it's pretty obvious what's going on.
Is that the body?
Yes.
Okay.
So this was difficult to articulate on the map itself,
Yeah.
but your owl, as it's circling over, you see, even in the dim light where there's people gathering with torches, there's a large stone, basically, that's
Yeah.
standing almost like that's clearly been carved and placed for some sort of ceremonial purpose. There are runes on it, even. Well, there's a body that has been pinned to that stone by basically what look like a bunch of roots, tree roots, which have grown out of the ground and literally speared this person through, pinning them to the rock.
Okay.
Hmm. They are basically dangling head down like this, and all the roots have pierced through the center of their chest and are pinning them to the rock behind them.
And what are the villagers doing? Do they look like they're complicit, or do
They
they
look like
look
they're panicking. Some of them are going to houses and bolting the door and
okay?
putting the windows. Basically, most of them are in panic mode at the moment.
So it doesn't look like this is, sorry, you lost the lottery. We have to sacrifice you to the forest spirits kind of thing. This is
Nope.
just
This
oh
looks like
crap, something bad's happening.
Yeah, this looks like a gruesome death, which they are reacting to in a rather predictable manner.
All right.
And the owl also some notices those ravens or crows.
Anything odd about them?
Roll an insight check.
Ooh, insight on a raven.
Yep, through the eyes of an owl.
Never mind. Oh,
What'd you roll?
actually, yeah, no, she gets this is visual.
Well, it's insight, not perception.
Never mind.
What was the roll?
Six, whatever modifiers.
Basically, it's just enough to confirm what your owls already relayed to you. They seem to be behaving differently than mundane, ordinary crows and carrion fowl would be, especially in the presence of a corpse. There's
Yeah,
less people gathered around it now. So,
yeah. All right. I unsummon her.
all right.
I fill you in.
Oh, well, that's not something you see every day.
No, first time.
Hmm.
And we've seen some very strange things.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't think we're going to be heading out just this minute.
No, it's dark.
No. And it seems whatever has been done has been done.
Technically, we could fly there in 5 minutes.
Yes. But we haven't gotten our rest yet.
No, apparently it is currently whatever over.
Yes.
And showing up in the middle of the night in a village that's currently in panic mode may not be very good.
No, they may not look kindly on outsiders at the moment.
Well, unfortunately, that may lead to more problems for the villagers.
Mhm.
All right, I'm gonna finish my long rest.
All right, so you go back to sleep or try to go back to sleep.
Well,
Yeah.
we are rather seasoned, unfortunate things.
Yes. All right, so the good news is there are no further interruptions to our long rest. So we do get our long rest.
Hey, so my question to you is, how quickly do you want to get to this now that dawn is here and we've had breakfast?
Well, so yes, we're having this conversation after we wake up and have had our breakfast.
Yeah.
So the sun's well up at this point.
Hmm.
We suspect whatever response in the village that whatever the local militia or whatever they have here is going to be up and about as well at this point, we suspect.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. How quickly do you want to get there? The other question is, how much of a do we want to disturb this village further with our arrival? I think we're both curious to see what's going on there.
Well, there's two things.
Mhm.
One side of the coin is, do we want to freak them out more and
Yes,
also possibly make us look bad because they may not be accustomed to having, lots of magic being thrown around.
yes,
And the other side of that coin is the longer it takes us to get there, the well, less uninterrupted the crime scene, we'll call it that, is going to be.
yes.
So once people start poking around there, any kind of evidence may be spoiled.
Well, from what you described, I'm not entirely sure the body's in too much danger of being tampered with.
Well, there is if they are a bunch of superstitious individuals,
Yeah.
um, they may not even want to go near it.
Mhm.
But then again, the crows might.
Yes.
All right. While we're having this conversation, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have my owl fly back and
For the third time.
for the third time knows where to go.
Yeah.
Scroll the corpse, and I'll have a quick look and see if there's anybody paying attention to this at the moment.
All right. Just to speed that up a little bit, Arrow flies there while we're having this conversation.
Yep,
She does a flyby. It's very much the same sort of thing. There's now a group of villagers amassed near there,
yep,
and they're off to a slightly distance. They're forming a semicircle at the edge of the village there, but staying away from the corpse.
yep.
And there appears to be two other individuals who are standing much closer to it who are having a discussion at the moment.
Okay. So 5 minutes versus 2 hours.
Yep.
Well, I think I will burn my free polymorph,
Yep. Turn into a giant eagle.
fly us not right to it,
No,
but
I suggest we land at the outskirts of the village
yeah,
and
and
try and avoid drawing attention to ourselves.
then yeah, we'll walk. All
Yes. Which means you need to make a stealth check as we approach.
right. I have stealth, so that makes that a 16.
All right. It's going to roll some perception here. All right. So, with your keen eagle vision as we approach,
Yep.
you observe that the vast majority of the village is very thoroughly distracted.
Yeah.
The other two individuals who you see there, you can't make out too many details at this distance as we approach, but there's definitely two of them, and they are definitely having a conversation about the situation. And that conversation looks like it could be developing into an argument. And they are both thoroughly distracted by that at this moment. So
All right.
no one seems to observe our approach
Yeah, I think it's still probably prudent to land.
outside the village and revert to your true shape and then
Yeah.
walk in.
And then walk in that general direction, yes.
Yeah. All right.
We
So,
still may end up getting blamed for this.
well, if we just walk into town as travelers, we're less likely to get blamed for it, I think. I say.
Yeah. Is there a road into this village?
Yes, there is. There is a dirt road, much like the one you see there on the map.
Oh yeah, okay. All right. We'll walk in on the dirt road just to make it look
Yeah.
less less, obvious. Well, we're strangers. I mean,
Yeah.
all
Anyway,
right.
we managed to land and revert without being observed, which is impressive considering you were a giant eagle.
Yeah.
Which just is a testament to how much this village is distracted at the moment.
Well, we also are coming in from behind where their attention's drawn, so
Yes.
we'll walk in
Yep.
and head towards the obvious.
Crowd.
Yeah.
All right. So we pass by the well you see there,
Hmm.
and we approach the crowd of people.
Yep.
I assume we're going to be trying to push through slightly to get onto the inside.
No, I don't want to push through them. I'm just gonna go around them.
All right. So we walk around them.
Yeah.
Takes a bit longer, but it is easy enough to do because they're trying to basically keep their distance from the scene of the crime as it was.
Um. Also, while I'm doing this, I want to listen. Is that argument
Yes.
in
All right.
progress?
Yes. The one question I want to ask you is which side are we approaching from? Because they're a circle of it, half a circle, obviously. So we can go around towards the body, or we can go around to the other stone.
I assume there's a semicircle of people like this.
It's a bit bigger. It's kind of
Further.
like orbiting these. It's kind of like the edge of the stones there. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Doesn't really matter.
No.
We'll come around this. We're here anyway, so we'll come around.
So we're
We'll,
going around the side where the stone with the corpse is.
yeah, skirt the people,
Yeah.
head towards the two people that are arguing.
All right. Well,
What are they arguing about?
yeah. So we're gonna get to that.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to give you a description of these two, because I'm not giving you a full description of the entire town, folk gathered, but these two are standing out. So it
Got
seems,
names, looks, and backgrounds on everybody.
yeah. All right. Both of them are dressed in what would be considered uh, probably rustic attire for all intents and purposes. Their outfit incorporates a lot of furs
Okay.
to them. One of them, both of them are human. One is younger than the other. Both are male.
Yeah.
One looks to be probably in his mid 30s. The other looks to be about in his mid 60s.
Okay.
Uh, the younger man has a bow and a quiver strapped over his back and like a hand axe at his belt.
Yep.
And based on his appearance, he fits the description of what you'd expect to be like a hunter, basically, or maybe possibly even a ranger of some sort.
Yep.
The other individual is dressed in furs and has long robes and has a variety of accoutrements to him that speak of some sort of tribalistic, possibly druid or shaman attire to him, and he is carrying a staff,
Okay.
and like an old gnarled staff, as opposed to our more carved ones.
More functional. Yeah.
Yes, his looks like literally it is almost like an old branch that could almost be seen as like a still living piece of wood in some ways.
All right.
And these are the two having the argument. And I'll also give you a description of the body.
Now that I'm closer
Yes.
to it.
So he is also human, male, and young. And he is dressed rather similarly to the hunter, you think. Dressed in
Okay.
very similar attire. And he does indeed have what appears to be the remains of a quiver strapped to his back. It's been thoroughly destroyed as the roots have pierced through his torso,
Yep.
pinning him to the stone. And the ruined remains of what looks like a bow at his feet. And yeah, the roots have basically, there's a tree there. You can see them going to. Well, the roots of that tree have literally come out of the ground and grown and it basically come together as a spear almost, a massive one. And those roots have skewered through him and are even going in, digging into the stone, pinning him to it.
Okay. Now, the tree that these roots are coming from, is that the
Yep,
same tree that the owls are all perched in?
there they were crows.
Sorry. Crows.
The crows weren't all in one tree; they were just perched all along the edge of the forest, and they're
Yeah.
gone by the way at this point.
Okay.
But as you think of that, you also notice that this corpse has been untouched by carrion birds.
The tree that these roots come from, is there anything unusual about it?
Other than the roots themselves,
Yeah.
not really. No.
All right. I'm
All
gonna
right,
go up to the two that are arguing.
all right. So the two of them are discussing, and it is a discussion at the moment, but it is getting more heated, like it might become an argument.
Okay. What?
So the older man is speaking and says, I'm telling you, Halvar says, this is a sign that the forest spirit is unhappy with us. It
Okay.
says like we need to perform the old rites and return to the old ways if we want to appease it, to appease him.
Right.
Halvar the hunter,
Yeah.
who's basically says says you're mad, old man, if you think I'm going to appease someone who has just killed one of my friends. Says who has done nothing wrong and has been brutally murdered through the night. It says people are terrified of this creature. Says we need to hunt it down and destroy it.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, there are definitely two sides of an argument.
Yep. Uh, the older man says like says he has never attacked us before. It says something has provoked the spirit. It says we must work with nature, not fight against it. That he is saying at this point. At this point, as we're coming around, Halvar the hunter notices and says it seems we have visitors. At which point the druid turns to look at us. Lots of other people are obviously noticed at this point, but
Yeah. Well, I walk up to within reasonable distance, not to panic them or anything, but
yes,
so I don't have to yell at them.
we're inside this semicircle at this point.
Yep. I said, well, this is not something you see every day.
This, uh, the old man says, "Indeed not." Says, and I have. It is not often that our village is visited with misfortune and strangers within so short a time period.
Is he looking like a little suspicious of us at this point?
That would be an insight check.
Yeah, I'm really good at those.
You want me to roll one too? I don't
Nope,
know.
nope, nope. That's 17.
Well, needless to say, my insight check is higher.
Yeah, well, hey, that's good for me.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's unfortunately he rolled really well.
No.
We can't really tell too much. We think he is somewhat concerned by our appearance, but that's about it. Us being here. So,
So what is this forest spirit that you speak of?
Halvor looks like he's about to speak, and he raises his hand and says, the older man says, Alvar says, "This is my area of expertise and sphere of influence within this village." Says, "I am the keeper of the village's forest lore." Says, "I will answer the strangers' questions." Halvar is somewhat annoyed by this, but concedes us. "Very well, old Nikolai, you can answer their question." Says,
Okay.
"And then I will have my turn to speak." He says, he says, says the forest spirit is exactly what it sounds like. An ancient being who lives within the forest here, rules over its domain, and speaks for nature's will. Says says since ancient times, says our says we druids have attempted to intercede between the village and the forest spirit and interpret its will and disseminate it among the people.
Okay. So what went wrong?
At which point Halvar says and it says, and for some reason, it says this so-called sacred spirit of yours has decided to kill one of my men in the night.
Yes.
He says, Nikolai says, something has angered the spirit clearly. He says, we need to find some way to reach a compromise and commune with the spirit. He says, and determine how to appease it. He says, rash action and violence will get us nowhere. He says. However, says, and will your opinion change when, if in the next night another such brutal murder occurs? He says, speaking to Nikolai and us, and also clearly the assembled crowd of people at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's trying to sway general populace
Yeah.
opinion.
Yes, and there is definitely everyone's listening to the conversation. There is definitely talk amongst the various people gathered here.
All right. Want to do insight check on the crowd?
Go right
Which way,
ahead.
which way do I think the majority of them are bending at the moment? 13.
All right. Bear in mind, it isn't easy to insight check a crowd.
No, just sort of just a general feel of, yeah, let's slay the monster. No, no, we must appease the monster.
um, well, there's no real loud voices being raised at the moment. The people are terrified. They were probably woken in the middle of the night, which means they haven't, you know, aren't as rested as they could be, so they're probably a little cranky in that regard.
Yeah.
And they seem to be agreeing that something needs to be done about this. And at the moment, no one's raising their voices beyond what these two are saying. So they're undecided at the moment, you think.
Okay. No one's been swayed enough yet.
Not yet.
All right.
Still early in that, you suspect.
All right. Well, I asked the Nikolai,
Nikolai, yep.
what is the process for appeasing this spirit?
Says, there is a stone in the forest called the altar stone, says, which we druids have often gone to pray and to commune with the spirit, says, and to learn its desires and will. Says, we also go there to lay offerings upon it in order to appease the spirit. Says, I will make my way there at some point in order to appease the spirit once I have refamiliarized myself with the ancient rites and rituals necessary to do so.
I gather from what you just said that it's been a while since anyone has done this.
It has been some time. It says, but nevertheless, it says, I am familiar enough with the old lore to perform such rites.
By some time, do you mean a couple of years? A couple of decades? Your great grandfather did this once?
It says, I have done this once before in my life. It says, when I was still apprenticed to my master, I assisted him in such a ritual.
And
He looked, sorry, sorry.
why did you stop?
This is, we have never stopped attempting to intercede with the spirit, but the spirit is rarely angered to such a point that we must intercede directly in this manner. Says-
Hmm.
And again, he looks like he's in his mid 60s, so it's been a
Been a
long
long,
time since he's been would be considered an apprentice druid.
yeah. All right. Well,
Halvar says, and perhaps says if everyone had listened to whoever raised their voices in that time, we would not be in this situation now. It says perhaps it's time we stopped trying to appease and worship this monster and we just drive it away from the lands that are ours. He says.
so this forest spirit has a physical form.
So, at this point, as you ask that question, it's pretty clear that I'm just going to roll an insight check again.
10.
All right. Uh, between the two of us, we're pretty sure neither of them is entirely certain to that the answer to that question.
Hmm. All right.
This is the druid speaks as when it says the spirit can take many forms, it is said, but all who enter the forest feel his presence.
Well, I am always one who's very interested in learning new things. Would you mind if we accompany you when you go to this altar stone?
It says it says provided you are respectful and do not panic easily, it says I will take it under consideration. It says you
All I
may.
want to do is observe, unless, of course, you're, sacrificing virgins or something, then I might have something else to say about it. But yeah, I just want to go and see what this rite is and learn something.
It says, well, it will take time for me to prepare everything I need for the ritual. It says, come see me later and we will discuss the matter.
All right, fair enough.
This is uh, Halvar says, or he says, if you want to make yourselves truly useful, you can come see me and my men at our hunter's lodge. It says, and perhaps we can discuss how you can assist us in actually solving the problem.
Well, like your elder here, I do side on caution because there's no point in hunting something down that, you know, may have been provoked or there's something else afoot. Investigation is always a great way to start.
He says, well, then he says, you two can look into whatever, investigate whatever you want. He says, just remember my offer still stands. He says, come and see me later if you, he says, and we might be able to discuss business. He says, and he,
Well, if this appeasing ritual goes south, then that would probably be the next option.
all right. Both of them are going the opposite ways. Ironically, literally going in opposite directions from
All
the
right.
village. And the crowd seems to be dispersing at the moment. So we seem to be left alone for the time being.
All right. I'm gonna wait
Yeah.
just because, you know, I want to have a look at this corpse.
Yes.
So once they've all gone their own way,
You want to make an investigation check with my assistance, I assume?
um, Yeah, we'll start with investigation.
All right. And we're starting with the corpse, you said?
Well, let's we're gonna investigate this whole thing right here just
All
to
right.
see what's going on.
All right. So what'd you roll?
Not very well. 16.
All right, it's 16. Well, that's enough for me to review as I said before. As I said, the roots have grown out of the ground, like literally have grown in an enormous size,
Yeah.
and basically coiled themselves together into almost like a lance of living wood that has gone, I mean, about a good 20 feet from where the tree is,
Yeah.
ran this guy through and pinned him to the stone, and the roots are sticking into the actual stone themselves. There's cracks in it now.
Okay.
And he's being held there like it. Death would have been almost instantaneous, you suspect.
Jack.
All right.
Never mind. Terrible number.
Hmm. With
Um, 9 total.
well, combined with your investigation check is enough to realize it. Yeah, basically the roots would have pierced through his heart, lungs, probably crushed a whole bunch of bones and ribs, and possibly even damaged his spine severely as they pierced through him and pinned him to the tree. So you can't imagine him. He didn't. The scream we heard was probably literally the last thing he would have experienced as he died.
Yeah, no, I wasn't really thinking so much about that as I was just trying to see if there is anything that looks unnatural about this. I know that seems kind of weird to say when it's
Well,
tree root just ran through somebody.
yeah, trees are not normally known to attack people.
Yeah, well, there are trees that do get up and about.
Yes,
I assume this is not an ant.
that would be an Arcana check.
Well, that'd be a 22. Oh, sorry,
But,
no, work on it. Never mind. Uh, 24.
right. Well, it's pretty obvious to both of us that some magic has been used here.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, because, like I said, the roots have basically been animated, grown to incredible size, and then basically formed together into a spear. That's not something that naturally occurs. Now, the issue with the fact now, Ents are indeed, or tree ants are basically magical plants that are long-lived trees who gain self-awareness and sapience, and are known to live in forests like this and can become violent if the forest they are protecting is threatened.
Yep.
However, neither of us ever heard of one ever being able to do something like this.
I am somewhat familiar, I think, with druidic lore.
Yeah.
Mm, Isn't there a druid spell that animates trees?
Yes, there is indeed a spell that animates trees. There's all sorts of druid spells that can make plants behave in all manner of ways. Again, we're not entirely sure if this specific situation is a possibility from one of those spells,
Hmm.
but it's possible.
All
And
right.
there is a druid in this village.
Question is there a political motivation for this?
I don't know. There does clearly seem to be some sort of schism in this village.
Yes, two definite camps. Well, two definite people who are trying to vie for control.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the villages are really divided that much.
All right. As we're
Yeah.
looking around, I'm looking around the ground and I say, well, I don't see any other tracks apart from tracks of people.
Yeah.
So, if this spirit does have a physical form, it either wasn't present or doesn't leave tracks.
Could have been the murder of crows.
Could have. We don't know.
Yeah. All right, let's go into town,
Yeah.
see what we can figure out with the people here while we're waiting for them to get their acts together.
All right. So, I assume we're going to be talking to people then.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will
Is there
still.
a general store here?
We'd have to look around. All
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I'm going to find a general store
right.
because usually people come and go out of there, and also we can have a look at stuff, see what level of well, development. See what these guys are. There's just a bunch of locals, yokels, whatever, or they actually do have, slightly above what the average peasant would have.
All right. So we go to the general store
Yeah.
after a little while. We'll call this an investigation check. We're basically asking around, but we're still interpreting it as basically a search, basically, and research for all those purposes.
26.
All right. What specifically do you want to ask about? Because that was a high roll.
Well, once we're in the general store,
Yes.
um, just want to just ask people like, is this something that's happened before? Is this something that, has you totally freaked out? Is this something that you have confidence in these two gentlemen to solve? Uh, just get the feel for, are they worried for their lives?
All right. Uh, well, that's quite a bit there. Let's start with the fact that people are absolutely terrified by this.
Yeah,
None of them remember anything happening this within living memory,
yeah,
and they are very thoroughly concerned. Um, they know the fact that the hunter that was killed, Sven, was one of Halvar's basically hunters. It was basically a hunting lodge they put together, and they are one of the most important, basically like an important organization within the village because they provide for them for the winter and those sorts of things.
yeah,
And after a particularly harsh winter, which has passed apparently for this village, Halvar has been trying to come up with various new hunting methods to try and uh, help the village recover and prepare for a possible second harsh winter this year.
yeah,
So that's what their main premise, the main goal is at the moment. And apparently Sven was the one who was last one going into the village, in the forest, and looking around and looking for thinking of possible ways to do that. And now he's turned up dead.
yeah,
So people are obviously saying that, well, obviously Halvar is well intentioned. He wants the village to thrive, and he's trying to come up with new ways of doing that.
yeah,
Everyone's opinion of old Nikolai, on the other hand, is he is basically the last of the druid circle that originally watched over this forest area and was integrated into the village when it was settled, basically.
yeah.
And he's believes instead that everything that's been happening recently to them, including the harsh winter they just experienced, is because they've strayed too far from the old ways that his people
Hmm.
have been used to watch over everyone since time immemorial in the old lore. And he believes that the spirit is the center of that, that is basically the conduit through which druids communicate with nature itself.
Okay.
And yes, he believes that the old ways will provide best for the village, and that this death is the result of us all abandoning those ways.
Hmm. Well, huh. Could go either way.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I want to know.
Yep.
Is there anything interesting in this store?
Define interesting.
Oh, stuff that we can use for, alchemical uses, potion making,
There are
herb.
some herbs here, but none of them are particularly rare, if that's what you're asking.
Okay.
It is just a general store. They don't even have healing potions for sale.
No magic root.
No mandrake root.
All right. So,
If anyone was going to have access to that, it probably would be the druid.
yeah. All right. Well, once I've done a bit of a probing around,
Mm.
I have a question for you.
Me?
Yep.
All
I
right.
think that contact other plane may help us here.
Oh, you want to break out contact other plane and try asking an extraplanar intelligence about a possible extraplanar threat?
Yeah.
All right, we can do that. I'm not sure how these people are going to react if I set up a magic ritual spell here.
Not in the general store.
I meant in the village too.
Yeah. We can always just, you know, go up the road a little bit,
Yeah,
sit
we
down.
can.
Because we got some time to kill before this guy's going to be ready. So, anyway, it was a suggestion if you want to do that.
All
Might
right.
help.
Yep, we can.
All right, let's do
Ritual
that.
spell, so it doesn't cost me a spell slot to cast it. Does
Yeah.
take time to set up though.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
So, go for a stroll, find a clear spot that we can sit down for a few minutes, and yeah, crack open your ritual.
All right. So I open up my spell book and I sit down cross-legged and I prepare to cast the spell. I just like a perception check on your part while I'm setting this up.
14.
All right. Uh, you do see someone from the village seems to be looking in the direction we went basically as we've gone out of town slightly.
Yeah.
This seems to be a woman looking down the road and is just like is like craning her neck to try and see how far we've gone. And that's about it at the moment.
I'll keep an eye on her.
Yeah. All right. So it's gonna take me 10 minutes to cast the spell,
Yep.
during which time you are keeping watch. All right, so let's bring up the details of the spell here just to have them if they're ready.
Yeah, only cast this once before.
Yep. All right. So as I finish the spell and I open my eyes, there's a flash of liquid blue light, which opposite me takes the form of the translucent image of what looks like a fluid blue eye. Kind of
Okay.
what similar to what a scrying sensor looks like, except this one is visible to both of us.
Oh, not a great flaming eye.
No, but it is similar in concept, basically. This is what the spell creates that allows me to communicate with and contact and ask questions to some extraplanar force.
All right.
All right, so the spell is. Oh, there is one thing I have to do first.
You used the portent, did you, for this?
I can use my portent, but I do have to make the saving throw.
Yeah. Yes. So, don't want you to be a gibbering idiot for the next 8 hours.
All
So,
right,
you.
so there goes an 18.
Yep, that's fine.
That takes care of it, but that was the only good portent I had really for that.
Yep.
All right, so I make the saving throw on the spell.
Yep.
The spell goes through. All right, so I don't take the 66 psychic damage. I'm not insane for until we finish a long rest.
Yeah.
All right, so we can ask this entity up to 5 questions. Sorry,
Yes.
I can ask it, but you can
Yes.
make
I
suggestions, obviously.
formulate some of the questions. First one I want to ask is, were any of the people in the village responsible for this murder?
All right, a moment passes, and I respond to, as my eyes glow blue through the ritual and say, "No."
So that eliminates a whole pile of people, which is good.
Mhm.
Was a spell used to animate that tree to result in, of course, that whatever his name was being skewered?
All right. The answer this time is a short answer. Is a short response.
Sorry.
Magic was used. Is the answer,
Okay.
but there wasn't just a yes or no answer there.
Sorry, I'm confused now. What was the answer?
The exact words of the answer was magic was used,
Ah, so not necessarily a spell.
as we understand it. No, possibly not.
Is um, the forest spirit that the druid mentioned, is it responsible for this?
Yes.
Uh,
I say I have a question if you don't mind me adding to this.
no, just because you're a spell.
Yes. Did the villagers anger the spirit in some way? Did they in some way provoke this attack? I get a moment passes, and the answer is yes. We have one question remaining.
Well, that was basically the question I was going to ask.
Yeah.
It's that one.
Mhm.
All right. My last question, or the last question, I guess, if you're fine with this, is are these hunters the ones who angered the spirit?
All right, want to go with that?
You go with that one?
Yep. That's your question then?
Yep.
Yes. The eye vanishes into a tiny pinprick of cobalt light, and my eyes dim as well as the spell ends. Well, we got a lot from that, I say as I close my spell book.
Yeah. So let's go find Nikolai.
All right. I say, well, we got some pretty clear answers, but they don't necessarily mean, well, the spirit we contact can't lie to us, but
Yeah.
but it interprets events in its own view, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go find the druid.
All right. So Nikolai's house, for all intents and purposes, is this one at the edge of the forest, at the far side of the village.
Up here?
Yeah, that one.
All right.
All right. I just want a perception check on our part as we proceed.
22.
All right. That's all right. As we are getting to hang off, we notice uh two things
All right.
also heading off from the area we're in. Two animals, to be more specific.
Okay.
One is a crow,
Okay.
and it's flying off in the direction of the forest.
All right.
It does look quite similar to the crows that your owl spotted the previous night.
Okay.
The other one is a small field mouse,
Okay.
which is heading off in the same direction we are currently heading off in, actually.
Hi, Nikolai.
You say that?
Yeah.
There's no response, obviously.
Can I mage hand catch this thing?
You can try if you want.
Yeah.
This will be a spellcasting ability check on your part, contested by the mouse's ability to escape with by dexterity.
That's a good number. 21.
Okay, 1 second. I need to bring up the stats of a mouse. All right, fine. Rat will do. Dexterity. Okay. Well, that beats the mouse is 18.
Marginally.
Yep. So your mage hand is able to catch the mouse.
Okay.
It's not happy.
I bet not. It's being
Hey,
held up by an invisible force.
Mage Hand is not invisible.
No? Oh, all right.
No. But it's being held up by a spectral hand.
Yeah. So they head towards Nikolai's house,
Yep.
just in case I'm wrong.
All right. So we head toward Nikolai's house while you are magically restraining a mouse.
Yeah, so we're just going to take you home, Nikolai. We want to talk to you anyway. Just any point in time, the mouse shape change.
Nope. So by the
Oh,
time we get to the house, we're about to knock on the door opens before
yeah.
we knock, and Nikolai is standing there.
Is this guy yours? I say.
Says he is a friend of mine. Yes. Says
Oh,
he is most unhappy at the moment.
yeah. Sorry, I thought it was you. I hand over the mouse.
He says, I'm not entirely sure that answer is any reassuring at all.
Ah.
He says, however, says, I think I have a better understanding of you two now. Says, and I do, says, what was to say that I respect those who seek answers before taking action. Says, and I have some understanding of wizardry myself, so I have some idea of the spell you two were casting there.
Yeah, well, we got some answers we thought you might want to know.
Says, come inside then.
Mm. And I fill him in.
On the questions we asked of the spell and what we got our answers, I assume.
Yeah, he says, well, basically, I want to let him know that no one in the village is responsible for the
Yeah, no
murder.
one in the village is directly responsible for the murder.
But somehow, this Hunter's Lodge group has angered this spirit of yours.
And the spirit is directly responsible for killing Sven. Yeah. It
And
says, well, it says your answers are not all that surprising. So I suppose it is nice to know that it says I was right to trust my instincts in this matter. It says, but they do not tell us very much beyond what I already suspected.
no, but now they're not suspicions.
It says, no, it says nevertheless, it says this might complicate matters.
Well, yeah, you have some sort of political divide in this town, and I don't think the Hunter's Lodge people are going to take this laying down, or certainly not going to wear the blame without, you know, causing some kind of trouble.
Says, no, confronting them directly will unlikely help in any way. Says, at least not while the current situation is the way it is.
Yeah,
Says,
especially if the murders continue.
says, yes, that is a concern, I assure you. Says,
Well, have
but
you?
says if the spirit has been angered directly by uh, someone in the village, says my says the old rituals that I know may not be enough to appease it, says I may need to communicate directly with it in order to find out exactly what is wrong.
All right.
And there are some risks with such a ritual, not unlike what you and your friend just attempted there,
Oh, that's not the only risks.
particularly if the spirit is angry.
Well, let me put it to you this way. If you are going to do something that is going against someone who's trying to gain more influence in this town, they may prevent you from succeeding.
I suppose I approached the Hunter's Lodge when this divide in our interest began. And they were quite secretive about what their new hunting methods were. I admit I have no knowledge exactly. They are well aware of all of my various uh, allies and tricks I can use to try and gain information about their lodge. And what's going on within those walls. My own attempts at investigation into that matter have been proven very unsuccessful, unfortunately.
So you tried sneaking in there as a small little critter and couldn't find anything out?
He says, well, I've sent some of my friends to try and investigate, but they are hunters. They are very adept at dealing with animals, and not always in the most pleasant of manner. And as I
Well,
said, they know me and my ways.
they don't know us and our ways.
No.
I can guarantee we can get in there unobserved.
Says it might prove necessary, says, but it may not. Says and if it is not necessary, you two will be taking some risk upon yourselves doing so. Says I do not believe that Halvar and his men have any true malice towards the people of this village. They have their best interests at heart, but they are men prone to using men of action and prone to using violence. As I cannot guarantee your safety if you are caught, and they believe you are trespassing where you do not belong.
All right, this is your town. We have two ways of doing this. My friend and I here could go and do some more investigating to see what this method is that they're taking on to apparently anger the spirit. Or we could go to this ritual stone and let you attempt to do whatever you need to do, and we can stand watch over you.
It's going to take me at least a few hours to gather everything I need for the rituals I intend to cast. It says, meet me back here and we'll say 2 hours and then we'll come to a decision on that. It says, in the meantime, you two can pursue what you think is best. He says, but I advise caution.
Yeah. Which is the lodge for them?
The largest building in town. He says,
Place?
nope,
That place?
that one, yes.
Wait. Yeah, I guess I should have figured that one because it was on the opposite side of the
Yeah, it
town.
also is the largest building in town.
Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. All right. We'll see you in 2 hours. We'll go and see what we can find out.
All right. So as we're heading out back across the town, we see that woman again who was looking in our direction before. And when she spots us, she starts heading in our direction.
All right. Let's go see what she has to say.
All right, so we approach her ourselves.
Yeah.
She are you are the two strangers who are trying to help?" And says, "Find out." And says, "What's going on here?" And says, "And what happened to poor Sven?" She says,
Yes.
"Well, it's not the only issue affecting our village at the moment." She says,
Really?
"No," it says, my daughter is." She says she's fallen under some sort of malign influence herself. She says, and I gather you two are rather well traveled and understand these things, and perhaps might be able to assist to try and help me with that.
All right. We got some time.
He
Show us to your daughter.
says, well, she's sleeping at the moment.
It's fine.
But she basically takes us to her house, which is one of the smaller houses here, you notice. Says,
All right.
well, she says, this is what I've been able to understand. She says, my daughter, Natasha,
Mm-hmm.
is, and this is just what she's saying herself, mind you, claims to be being visited each night by her husband, Victor, whom we lost over the course of the harsh winter that just passed.
Okay. And what is Victor telling her?
Well, she claims that he's not dead and that he's visiting her every night.
All right.
And
As in alive?
well, that's what she's claiming. So I've not seen him myself. Says,
Okay.
but she is convinced that he's still alive, and she claims that he visits her at night after
Yep.
I'm asleep, and each time he comes, he brings her a gift which she locks away in basically her cupboard.
All right. So she's asleep right now.
Yes, well, she's not faring too well. She's been through a lot of stress, and she's been rather sick and doesn't eat quite as much, and also apparently being visited by her husband in the middle of the night. So,
All right. I'm going to start off by doing a med check on her.
all right. So we go to her room. She basically opens the door just slightly ajar. She is in bed,
Yep.
and you want to do a medicine check.
Yep.
Okay.
Ah, that's a good med check. Um, 21.
21. All right. Well, before you even start your medical examination of her, you can tell that she's probably not the most well-off girl at this point, or young woman. She looks quite emaciated and thin, and there's signs of worry and on her face, and it's clear that she hasn't been sleeping well.
Yep.
And once you begin your medical examination of her, it's starting to get even clearer that that's the case, but it's more severe than you initially thought.
She,
Basically, she's she is emaciated and she looks rather sick herself and
yep.
quite sickly. The fact she hasn't been eating and hasn't been sleeping probably hasn't been helping.
Yep.
Her pulse is slow, her breathing is somewhat erratic and
Yep.
like almost haggard and drawn a little bit when she does it. It's like it's not an easy breathing.
Right.
And as yeah, it and a few other things come to your notice. She's got a bit of a cough occasionally when she is breathing.
Yep.
And there are two other things that stand out. The first is this she's showing symptoms and signs of something we've experienced in our past with other people you've examined, victims of. Basically, she's her life force is weaker than it should be. She's being drained quite gradually, you notice. But
Arcana check. Is this necrotic damage?
you can roll.
Ugh. Burn a point of luck.
Okay, that was really bad.
Oh, that was really bad. Not much better, but I'm not gonna burn all my luck on this. So that'd be 15.
Similar, and you're suddenly having some difficulty understanding this, that it's her life force is being drained, has been drained away in the same way that a lot of negative energy can, but there's no sign of necrosis. In fact, what you're looking for at instead looks almost like, and it takes you a moment to realize, but it looks like there's almost like very minor burns and signs of like soot and almost like charring on her skin in some places. So her life force is being drained, but there's no sign of necrosis. Instead, it looks like she's been like very mildly burnt in some places.
All right. This cupboard that she's been locking stuff into.
Yep,
Open it up.
it is locked. You're going to force the lock.
Oh, pick the lock anyway.
Okay.
Oh, now I'm rolling well. 20,
All right.
30.
You've opened the cupboard and you unlock the door. And I need each of us to make an intelligence saving throw.
Woohoo.
Of all the things to roll a natural one on.
I know. Intelligence saving throw is a +8 for me. No, +10.
Yeah.
24.
A wave of stench hits you.
Okay.
The cupboard, the very bottom of it, beneath where all her clothes are, is well, there's no pleasant way of saying this, is filled with excrement.
Okay.
And her mother apparently says that this is where the gifts that she's been receiving is. And you hear me say, well, I says they do seem to be here, is what I say.
I mean the gifts you mean?
Yeah,
You rolled a natural one on your saving throw?
I rolled a natural one on my saving throw. You are very clear that that there is some sort of illusion or glamour over what this is, and is making it seem like that.
So what is it?
I told you it was excrement.
Oh, and you see wonderful jewels and
I
stuff.
guess gifts for all intents and purposes. Yes.
I give you a slap. It's an illusion.
All right. I'm going to try rolling again an investigation check now about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once I roll above a natural one, I'm able to pierce the veil of the illusion.
Uh, close
And
and
so
check.
is her mother.
Wow.
Yeah. She rolled a 15. She doesn't
Wow.
have any modifiers, but she rolled a 15.
There you go.
And we are both rather disgusted by this sight.
I close the door to and open up a window.
Yeah.
All right. So she's being visited by something unpleasant
Yes. And from what we can tell, only at night.
and draining her.
Slowly. This is clearly a gradual process.
All right. I have a lot of ways of fixing this, but I will.
Well, the easiest way to fix this is for her to get an uninterrupted rest, which I suspect this thing is not going to allow.
Yeah. Well, we can we can help there.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to use something I haven't used in a very, very, very long time. If I can
Yeah.
find where it is on my sheet here.
Okay.
I have a healer's kit,
You do.
and I am going to attempt to remedy her of this non-magic way.
All right. You do know for a fact
Yeah.
that, from your experience, that using a healer's kit and it will not reverse the reduction of life force she's experiencing.
But would it stem it?
It could help,
I'm gonna give it a
but
try.
it won't be able to reverse it.
All right. Never mind. The
All right.
other,
So I assume because it was low enough, that's what the conclusion you come to in your attempt to do so.
yeah. The
This
other
requires a
option,
magical remedy of some sort.
yes.
Or,
I have a lot of regular healing potions.
Mhm.
Fine. I give her a regular healing potion.
All right.
Want me to
Give
roll?
her the healing potion. Looking at her, you also notice the fact even that we've done all this, she seems to be completely like passed out. She's clearly exhausted. You can roll the healing potion.
Holy crap, what a waste. Max.
Okay, so 10.
Yeah.
All right. So she drinks the potion. You notice that the burns you saw,
Yeah.
they heal.
Yeah.
So clearly the potion had some effect. In fact, it probably is going to restore her a fair bit of health, but it's not so much that she's been damaged and injured, it's the fact that she's fading, basically.
All right. Yes.
So the potion isn't going to be able to help with that. But you probably have given her some of her strength back,
Yeah.
as much as the potion could. And yeah, I guarantee you that that was a waste of a potion.
Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah. That's all right.
Well, we can't load the game. Load the game. That was a waste of resources.
Okay. Save. Do something. Nah, I didn't like that. Reload.
Yeah, no, this is Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay. I say to her mother, her nighttime visitor is obviously causing her damage. So we have some stuff we need to do today, but we're going to come back and we're
Before nightfall to try and.
we will try and intervene on the next visit.
Yeah, because we both know we don't have a method of curing her at this point. Nikolai might. Druids sometimes have some access to some magic like that, but
Yeah, I don't think Dispel Magic will work.
no, you know it won't. From our experience, she probably would require the spell closest that would she would require is Greater Restoration,
On
which
the
we
other
do not
hand,
have access to.
kill the thing that's trying to drain her.
That is another option. We can try and drive off this whatever this is, and
Yep.
or destroy it and prevent it from further harm, and she will in time get better.
Yeah.
That is our easiest option, we think.
Yeah. Well, that's all we can do at the moment.
Yeah, there's not much else we can do at the moment. We do promise to come back before nightfall to try and help out with this.
All
Considering
right.
it's not even noon yet, we have plenty of time,
Yeah.
my friend.
Lots of other things are going to happen between now and then.
Yes. Yeah. So we say goodbye to the woman's name is Titania.
Okay, Tanya, can you clean that crap out, though, by the way?
Yeah, she's going to.
And then, yeah, we'll be back before,
Okay.
hopefully before nightfall.
Yes.
All right.
So we leave her to that. And we said, well, quite a bit going on in this small village.
Yeah. Well, I think what we should do is try and sneak into this lodge and see what these little miscreants are up to.
All right. Well, there are a number of ways we can do that. What do you think is the best way for us to do so?
The easiest and least obtrusive would be for you to scry in there.
Yes, or clairvoyance. Either would work.
Yeah, the third level one.
Yeah.
Sorry, not the five, the whole one.
Yep. That can work. I can pick a point inside the house, the building that's obvious to me.
Well, we can wander by
Yep.
and I want to. All right, this is what we'll do. I'll walk by and I'll
Yes.
knock on the door.
All right. Yeah, they did actually invite us in.
Yep.
Is the
That
well,
way we'll have a visual.
yeah.
And I say, look, we're gonna give a try. We're gonna give Nikolai his plan a try, and if it doesn't work out, uh, we'll see what we can do to help you in eliminating this problem.
Yeah. It's not Halvar who opens the door when you speak to him about that, but it is clearly one of his men. He
Yeah.
doesn't look thrilled, but he acknowledges the fact that he will pass along the message, that sort of thing.
All I want to care about is the fact that you've seen the inside of this place, so you know where to place your sensor.
Yep. There is a large common area that I could easily put a sensor in.
All right. Is there anybody in there at the moment?
There's voices from in there, yes. So there's other people in there, you suspect.
All right. Then we find a quiet place, sit down,
Yep.
and you can cast your spell.
All right. So you have to wait another 10 minutes because even though clairvoyance is not a ritual spell, it has a 10-minute casting time.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll get out my spell book, the glass eye and jeweled horn. And I assume we're definitely wanting to start with a visual in there.
Yeah. See if the Halvar is there at least anyway.
All right. So I cast clairvoyance and I close my eyes to focus on the spell. I can't, this is different than using familiar, so I can still see and hear, but I'm just focusing at the moment through the
Yeah.
spell. So anything you can say anything you want to me and I will hear it.
All right. Who's there?
All right.
Oh, it's Halvar there. He's the only one we know about.
All right, so Halvar is there, as are four other men who are dressed similarly to him.
Okay.
I suspect these are his other hunters, this lodge.
Yeah.
And yeah, they are clearly hunters. There's hunting trophies all over the place.
All right. Let's listen in.
Mhm. All right, so I listen in.
Yep.
Well, the first thing I hear is that the man we were speaking to says, "Yeah, those two strangers. They said that they spoke to old Nikolai, and they've decided to go with his methods for the time being." When I say that, when he says the words methods, he basically almost spits the term. Clearly, Halvar and his men are unified in the fact that they don't like his approach.
Yes.
Halvar says, "Well, for the time being," says, "I doubt that's going to actually amount to anything." Says, "But we'll leave it be for now." Says, when his methods fail," says, "if they're willing to work with us, I'm willing to work with them." Says, "At the top for the time being," says, "we can afford to wait." Says, "but we do need to get back to work." Says, "especially the loss of Sven." Says, and he says, "In his memory," you hear a couple. I say there's a couple of like flagons or cups being banged together. Clearly, they're drinking at the moment in his memory. I guess he's
Yeah.
like having almost like a wake for him, I suspect, or whatever passes for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping to figure out what these methods are, but I
Says,
don't think they're going to be doing anything about that at the
how
moment.
this is another one. Another voice speaks up. It says, "How do we actually hunt down a spirit?" It's like this. But I've never really paid much attention to old Nikolai's ramblings, but it does sound like. I mean, it doesn't sound like this is our thing that we can hunt down with bows and axes. It says, it says no. It says, but it says, "I'm pretty sure this spirit isn't quite as holy as Nikolai implies. It's some sort of creature, obviously, and it's got considerable power." It says, "but I'm confident that we can bring down any living beast or beast or monster." It says, "Look around. We've done considerable good so far." And I say, that clearly got a a chorus of laughter and raucous laughter from them. Clearly, they have been drinking a little bit. They're probably also, from at least from we understand, overestimating their abilities, we suspect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we still don't actually know what this thing is.
No, and at least we're of a mind to figure things out before we go and start, firing arrows at things.
Yes. At the very least, it doesn't seem like they're getting up to much at the moment.
Yeah, what I really wanted to find out was what these methods were, but
Well, I can have a look around with clairvoyance, but
yeah.
the sensor doesn't move, unfortunately, so it's fixed where it is. All right, so but we'll say a couple rounds go by as I basically just pan around the room with clairvoyance where it currently is, and I say, "I don't see anything really out of the ordinary apart from just the various usual hunter supplies, bows, axes, maces, clubs, and various like snares and other things like bait, and obviously furs, pelts, trophies, and actual meat that they're in the process of salting and preparing, obviously."
Yeah, that's not going to help.
No. I suspect we're not going to get too much out of this, more out of the spell, unfortunately.
No,
We have a
but
good idea what the room looks like now, though.
it was a long shot to see. I mean, it's not like they're going to sit there and talk about their hunting methods.
No.
No, but they are going to do something.
Yes.
Well, short of actually going in there, disguised or whatever,
Mhm.
even then, we're not going to know. There's nothing we can do about that, right? Unfortunately, at the moment, because
No.
we don't know what the method. I mean, the method simply could just be the brutal slaughter of animals.
Could. That doesn't really fit what they're what hunters normally do.
Yeah, but if they are excessively culling the forests,
Yeah,
so to supply this town, that could anger a spirit.
yeah, that could. Could also anger a druid.
Yeah. They could be burning down things. They could be using, I don't know, all kinds of weird baits and stuff, trying to lure in animals. I don't know. Can't see. I mean, this has all happened relatively recently. So anyway, there's no way of knowing, besides, reading a mind or something. So
Well, I don't have detect thoughts prepared, unfortunately. I didn't think I was going to need it this morning.
yeah, it's always that way. So
Well,
many
out in the
spells.
wilderness, I wasn't expecting to have to, to pry into people's thoughts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, no, it's obvious. All right, let's go back. Wait for Nikolai to be ready.
All right, so we head back. We
I torment his mouse a little bit while we're waiting.
Is this your way of getting him to work faster?
Have my owl pounce on him. Play
If
a
your
little.
owl pounces on a mouse, she's probably going to eat it.
No,
No.
I won't do anything like that. Even though
Probably a good idea not to anger the druid we want to try and work with.
help. Yeah, he seems to be fairly level-headed.
Yeah.
Okay, we sit, we wait.
We are patient, and eventually we go meet up with Nikolai,
Yep.
who has gathered basically has a satchel full of things he needs for the ritual and has his staff, and he seems to be prepared to head into the forest
All right.
to try
Well,
and appease the spirit, and if that fails, to commune with it.
all right. So as long as it doesn't have some child strapped to some sort of backpack thing.
No, no, he doesn't.
All right. Well, I mean, I said it was an old ritual.
Yeah.
Off we go.
So we head off into the forest, which means you can move ahead to the next image.
Oh, there seems to be a red stain on this altar.
All right. So it takes us a little while to get into this section of the forest. This is basically its heart.
Yep.
And we do see the altar stone,
Hmm.
which is a large stone slab like that
Yep.
with runes and various symbols on it, which we assume are in druidic. And
Yep.
yes, there are dried blood stains on the stone.
Okay.
It is dried blood. I just wanted to make that clear. It's
Okay.
But yes, it is clearly some of the rituals involved in this stone have involved some form of sacrifice, and a number of religious rituals do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I would like a perception check on our part as we.
Ooh, not 20.
Okay, that's quite low for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, I got thrown by all that poop in the cupboard.
Yep. So you see this coming before it happens.
Okay.
All right. There are. I want to point to the various map that there are various points in there. You see that there are basically like not just trees, but almost like shrubs or piles of leaves.
These things?
Yeah. Well, there's a bunch of those.
Yep.
And well, you see it happen right, but you see it coming out right before Nikolai steps in one of them. And I'm going to see if he can.
Can I prevent him from stepping on it?
Well, I gave him a saving throw.
Hmm.
So he made that. And as he steps, he feels something stepping, he pulls back just as, well, a pair of massive steel jaws
God,
come
got
up
giants
together.
in here.
And he's able to avoid the worst of it.
Can I, with my nat 20, give him a little bit of an extra shove on the dexterity?
He's already saved.
Yeah, a little extra shove.
You can
Uh,
roll it.
never mind.
All right. He's taking half this damage.
All right.
Oh, but I rolled quite high. Okay. Wow. Only one of those rolls is under. There's a one, and the rest of them are all above half. Hmm.
How much damage is poor Nikolai taking?
Um, so 27 points of slat of piercing damage halved to 13.
All right. That's a lot.
Yep. The good news is his leg isn't caught in the trap also because he succeeded.
Okay.
But it did just take 66 damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
He gives a cry of pain,
yep.
but and he does have to brace himself with his staff to keep his feet. But yeah, he's bloodied to say the least.
He's bloodied. Holy crap. That means if he hadn't saved, he would be dead.
Probably unconscious, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of damage to him.
Wow. I will bind the wound.
Yeah. Make a medicine check.
Natural 20.
All right. You bind the wound thoroughly. He's not going to bleed out. He's going to might need some healing, but that's about it.
All
And
right.
yeah, it's pretty clear that this this is a bear trap.
I'm gonna cast Mage Hand, and I'm gonna trip all the other ones that I see.
All right. This is going to take a while.
Oh, there's a lot of them.
Well, there's a lot of those pile of leaves or shrubs and stuff. You're just
Nat
going to
20
go.
on my perception.
Yeah, so you're just going to go down in every one of them.
Well, yeah, the ones I think are suspicious.
All right. That will narrow it down slightly. Within a short order, you basically shove Mage Hand into about a dozen of those piles of leaves,
Yep.
and you trigger five more bear traps for a total of six. And your Mage Hand probably dies horribly several times, but it can't.
But it can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to stick my staff in there because,
Yeah.
well, hey, it may not survive.
And we clearly see that there is dried blood on some of these traps.
So this may be some of the reasons.
Yeah. Clearly, they've been in use for some time, and if Sven was indeed the one setting up these traps at late at night in the forest, this might be why he was out there and got killed.
All right. It's
Also, not entirely sure Nikolai is now up to attempting whatever ritual he was going to be casting.
okay.
Point.
All right. Nikolai's a druid, right?
Yes.
First level druid spells cure light wounds.
Yeah.
Come on, Nikolai. Heal yourself.
All right. I'm going to roll.
No, he's going to?
I'm going to roll to see if he has cure wounds prepared.
Oh.
No, he doesn't at the moment, unfortunately.
All right.
Are you going to use another potion? At the very least, you know this time it's going to work.
I am going to use another of my minor healing potions, the regular ones.
Yep. I'm not every druid prepares cure wounds every morning.
And he regains 7 of those hit points.
All right, so you heal him 7 of the 13 hit points he lost. So he's the pain is a lot less severe. The wound's probably closed at this point. He's probably still in some pain because that hurt, but he feels more confident in his ability to continue on.
All right.
And he is not so much just in pain from the wound, but he's unhappy with the current situation, it seems.
I'm unhappy with the current situation.
Yeah.
Considering, so I'm going to say this to Nikolai and you, considering that those guys knew we were coming here and they didn't warn us about these bear traps, I am not happy.
No, I think there's a definitely at least an attempt to, if not outright deceive, then mislead the people of this village that they are using these traps, clearly.
Yeah. It's,
Also, it may have given them a bit of sick pleasure to think of Nikolai falling into one of these.
yeah. All of a sudden, I don't like them anymore. They seemed kind of borderline, we're trying to feed our village kind of people. Now
Well, I
they
imagine
are,
they are using that's what these traps are for.
yeah, that's just a byproduct. I think maybe they enjoy the killing.
Well, there are definitely hunters who do that.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so we approach the altar stone,
Yep.
giving Nikolai a bit of support now because of his injury.
Well, I bound his wound.
Yes,
Maybe
you
not.
bound him, give him a healing potion. He's still limping a little bit. He isn't fully healed.
All right. I'm not going to give him any more potions.
You've used two of them already
Yeah. Uh,
on NPCs.
yes, I know.
This is bringing back memories of the plateau.
Yeah. If somebody kills this guy in the end of this, I'm going to be really pissed, I tell you.
All right. So the good news is at this point,
Yeah.
we're just on watch basically as Nikolai sets up the ritual, which involves he basically makes a ring of tallow candles on the altar stone. He sets up some herbs and some various flowers, takes out some incense, and he sets a small fire there, which he does light with what we presume is the druid craft, basically.
Yeah.
And
I'm
he,
paying particular attention to the ritual.
all right, all right. We'll each roll intelligence checks then, in order to memorize aspects of this. Well, I rolled a
Dirt,
natural 20.
and I rolled a dirty 20, so
All right, so we're both very aware of what the ritual process he's going through.
yeah.
So there doesn't seem to be any actual spell casting involved here. This is more of like a ceremony.
Yeah.
So we might be able to convince it, be able to pull this off ourselves with that roll in the
Okay.
future if need be.
If need be.
Yes. All right. He goes through the ritual. He basically says basically what counts to a prayer in Druidic.
Yeah.
And as he finishes it, he's basically is sitting cross-legged, has his hands raised in the air, and his head turned up, and a powerful wind blows through, like almost gust of wind level through the
Okay.
entire forest. And the small fire and the burning incense and everything is blown out, and is the contents of the ritual is literally scattered from the stone.
Okay.
And needless to say, Nikolai says the spirit has not been appeased by this rite. He says he is very, very angry.
All right. Time to commune with your woodland spirit.
He says he says this will be more dangerous.
We got your back.
And he takes out other things, and he basically again sets up a larger circle on the stone and sets up various things with candles and incense, and he sits in the center of it this time.
Yeah.
And he sits in a meditative pose and with his fingers steepled before his face and his eyes closed, and he does a longer incantation this time.
Actual magic this time? Arcana check?
Yep, you can roll if you want.
Um, 24?
24. Again, yes, but much like this is a magical ritual this time, as opposed to probably just a ceremony, a religious ceremony. There's
Yeah.
no spell involved again. This is more like a detailed ritual or something else, not an actual spell. So we don't know if we could pull this off or not.
No.
Especially since this is probably divine magic at this point.
Yeah. What to say is this is not even in our school.
Yeah. All right. As he finishes the ritual, the candles die down and then they flare up in bright green flame. And suddenly we do feel a presence in the forest that was absent before. And it's literally like everything in the forest is suddenly looking at us and Nikolai.
Yeah.
And he says, Spirit, says, tell me what it is that has angered you. Tell me how we can set right this wrong. Says, I and those I have brought with me seek to bring a peaceful end to these hostilities. Says, we are not your enemies. It's at this point you hear a voice on the wind that sounds almost like it's coming from every direction of the forest at once, and it's speaking in a language that we do not understand.
You don't comprehend languages?
I haven't cast the spell. I don't have it prepared either, so I don't. It's unfortunately no. This is a situation in which I can't just interpret it for you.
Right.
It's not a very long conversation. We
Nice.
imagine it was probably like a handful of sentences,
Yeah.
and afterwards, Nikolai bows his head and says, "I understand, Spirit. Says we will do what needs be done." And as he finishes that, the green flames, the candles flick out, and there's just smoke. And Nikolai does look somewhat spent.
Okay.
Says,
All right, Nikolai. Obviously, you got some kind of instructions.
says, "Yes, fortunately, the spirit was willing to listen to me." Says the spirit is angry. Says, and I believe rightly so. But he himself merely wishes things this wrong to be righted. Says he does not wish for unnecessary death and violence, which in his eyes are what the people of my village have brought to his kingdom, which is what he views this entire forest and indeed at one point this entire land as. His
Does this have something to do with the bear traps?
says says yes, says we he does not he does not love these traps. He despises these these machines of death, as he calls them. This is with the cruel iron jaws. Says, he demands that they all be brought to the altar stone so they may be destroyed.
This stone here?
Yes.
Okay, that's easy.
All
Pick
right.
them all up, toss them on
All
the
right.
altar.
We place them there, and suddenly all the druidic runes on the stone glow bright green,
Yeah.
almost as if they are similar to the green fire we saw before. And we literally watch as the metal of the bear traps rusts and corrodes and starts to just as if time
Hey,
and nature itself is eating away at them at
naturalize.
a massively accelerated rate.
Yeah.
Within like not even 10 seconds, there's just dust on this stone, which the wind just scatters. Clearly, we are dealing with a rather powerful spirit here.
Yeah, they want to ask Nikolai is that all of them?
You suddenly, the wind picks up again, and you hear a single word. And he says, "No, there are more. But there are no more within the forest, I believe. Unfortunately, that leaves only one real place where they could be."
Yeah, I know where that is. So now I want you to go back in your memory because you did the scrying in there.
Yeah.
Did you see a bunch of bear traps there?
No, admittedly, I didn't roll very high, but I'm positive there are none of them out in the open. But something tells me, with the amount of secrecy that's been attempted here,
Yeah.
that's not very surprising. They're probably hidden away somewhere in there.
All right, let's get Nikolai back to his place.
Yep.
We're gonna go a knocking.
All right, so we take Nikolai back to his house, and as it seems like we are definitely firmly on his side of things at this point,
Oh yeah,
and are dedicated to rounding out the remainder of these bear traps and having them destroyed to appease this forest spirit, this seems like a good place for us to take our break.
yeah. I was gonna mention that.
Yeah. So we'll be back here in a moment to continue this.
Yes.